Hey everyone, so you've been looking into confidence and sent over some really interesting stuff about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into this lecture by Dr. Yasser Al-Hazimi
Okay.
on calmness and peace of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly the parts about confidence.
Right.
You've also got this text summary that breaks down all the key points.
Yeah. It's fascinating how Dr. Al-Azimi kind of brings together, practical advice with these Islamic principles
Right.
to help you build real self-assurance.
You know me, I love the aha moments. And there was one right at the beginning where Dr. Al-Hazimi says that actually being able to tell the difference between concepts that sound similar
Right.
is actually a sign of real knowledge.
Yeah.
Like knowing the difference between confidence and arrogance,
Right.
or modesty and shyness.
That's such a good point, because it's like he's giving us this toolkit
Yeah.
to better understand ourselves, but also the people around us.
Right?
Because think about it, how often do we misinterpret shyness as weakness
Totally.
or arrogance as strength?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're just judging based on these first impressions.
Exactly.
But he's really pushing us to look deeper.
Yeah.
One really interesting thing he does is he distinguishes between
Okay.
modesty, which he calls haya, and shyness, which he calls kahal.
Right.
They're easy to confuse,
Yeah.
but he says they're actually pretty different.
Absolutely. They're completely different.
Okay.
Modesty is about making, conscious choices
Yeah.
aligned with your values, even when it's tough.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a meeting and you have this great idea, but you hesitate to speak up because someone more senior is talking.
Right.
So modesty might lead you to wait for a better moment.
Okay.
You'd still feel confident and ready to share when the time is right.
Got it.
Shyness, on the other hand, might make you so afraid of being judged that you just stay silent. And then later you regret it.
Okay. So it's the difference between choosing to hold back
Exactly.
and being held back by fear.
Yeah.
But isn't there a danger then of being too modest?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads perfectly into this idea of confidence as a religious obligation in Islam.
Okay.
So Dr. Al-Hazimi says that, true confidence, the kind that comes from haya, not kajal,
Right.
is about prioritizing God's approval over people's opinions.
So it's about having the courage to live your values even when they might not be popular.
Exactly. And he gives these thought-provoking examples. For instance, he points out how some men, shave their beards, or women might pluck their eyebrows because of societal pressures, even though those actions are religiously discouraged.
So it's like they're letting fear rather than their faith guide their decisions.
Precisely.
And this kind of ties into his warning against self-deprecation.
It does.
Right.
He links it back to the Prophet Muhammad's teachings about respecting yourself.
Right.
It's essentially saying, putting yourself down is like saying you don't deserve respect.
Yeah.
Which goes against the Islamic principle of honoring your inherent worth as a creation of God.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I never thought about self-deprecation in that light.
It's a whole different perspective.
It is.
And he also talks about how we tend to overestimate others and underestimate ourselves.
Yes, he does.
Right.
He has this brilliant analogy with the piece of paper.
Yeah, imagine a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It might look huge compared to a paperclip, but tiny next to a poster board.
Right.
He's saying our perception of ourselves depends on who we're comparing ourselves to.
So if you're feeling insecure, it's worth asking yourself, am I comparing myself to the right people?
Exactly.
Maybe I need to shift my focus.
Right. And he shares this incredible story about Imam Azari. He was summoned by this really powerful ruler who was known for being cruel. And he was just so intimidated.
Right.
But then he remembered the power of God.
Okay.
And that shifted his whole perspective.
Wow.
He found his courage again by remembering that there's a bigger picture.
So that's a powerful example of how faith can be a source of strength in tough situations.
Absolutely.
It's almost like, finding that unshakable confidence comes from remembering that you're connected to something much greater than yourself.
Yes. And he beautifully describes true confidence as that middle ground between arrogance and self-deprecation.
So it's about knowing your worth while also respecting others. Not needing to tear other people down to build yourself up.
Exactly. And that foundation, according to Dr. Al-Hazimi, lies in this idea of It's an Arabic term that basically means having good expectations of God.
Okay, that's a new one for me.
Yeah. So it's about trusting that God wants what's best for you.
Okay.
Even when life throws curveballs. Think of it like having faith in goodness. Yeah. Even if the specific words are different.
Right.
It's like believing that even during tough times, there's a higher purpose.
I like that.
And he uses this really relatable analogy to illustrate this.
Okay.
People riding roller coasters.
Yeah.
They're scared, but they still go on the ride because they trust the safety measures in place.
It's like saying, I know this might be scary.
Yeah.
But I trust that I'll be okay because I believe in the overall system.
It's that trust.
Yeah.
And Dr. Al-Hazimi is suggesting that same trust in a higher power can apply to life.
So it's not about ignoring the fear,
right,
but having this underlying belief that things will ultimately work out for the best.
Exactly. He then breaks down confidence into two core components.
Okay.
Assertiveness and self-acceptance.
Okay, let's unpack those. What does he mean by assertiveness?
So he defines it as the ability to express your feelings and act in line with them, even if it means saying no or disagreeing with someone.
Right.
It's about not constantly suppressing your needs to please others.
Got it.
Think about someone who struggles to even order food at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're so worried about what the waiter might think.
I've been there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lack of assertiveness.
Wow. You wouldn't think something as simple as ordering food could be tied to confidence, but it makes total sense.
But constantly putting others' needs before your own can lead to burnout, resentment, and strained relationships.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been guilty of people-pleasing at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
But what does he say about its impact on confidence?
So he argues that constantly trying to please everyone can actually make you lose people's respect.
Oh, wow.
Because it often comes across as insincere. It's like you're building your relationships on a foundation of sand.
Right.
It might look okay at first glance, but it can't withstand any real pressure.
So how do we break free from that people-pleasing trap?
Well, he talks about the importance of genuine connections built on honesty and respect.
So it's about prioritizing authenticity
Yes.
and being true to yourself.
Yes, you attract people who appreciate the real you,
Right.
not the version you're trying to project.
It's about having the courage to be vulnerable.
It is.
Even if it means risking projection.
Exactly. It's about saying, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
Right.
And that's where true confidence shines, in the willingness to be your authentic self, flaws and all.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And building those genuine connections is so important.
Yeah.
And it ties into this other thing that Dr. Al-Hazimi talks about, which is the danger of seeking validation from the wrong sources.
Oh, that's so true. It's like we're constantly chasing those likes and approvals.
Yeah.
Whether it's on social media at work or even in our personal lives. It's exhausting.
It really is. It's like we're outsourcing our self-worth to other people, hoping they'll fill this void that only we can fill.
Right.
But he stresses that true confidence isn't about being perfect or flawless.
Right.
It's about embracing who you are.
Yeah.
Imperfections and all.
Yeah.
It's about accepting yourself even with your so-called flaws.
Right.
And recognizing your strengths.
Okay, so I'm picturing it like making a list of your strengths and weaknesses and being like, hey, this is me, the whole package.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to grow.
Of course not.
Right.
Self-acceptance isn't about giving up.
Yeah.
It's about creating a solid foundation to grow from, It's about building a house on solid ground, not quicksand.
I like that.
When you start with self-love, you can grow and evolve from a place of strength.
Building on solid ground versus sinking in quicksand.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to think about it.
Yeah. And he also talks about the impact of our self-talk.
Oh, yeah.
That inner voice can either lift us up or tear us down.
He makes this point about imagine having a friend
Yes.
who's constantly criticizing you.
Right.
Would you keep them around?
No way.
But so many of us do that to ourselves all the time.
You're so mean to ourselves.
We are.
It's crazy.
So how do we change that internal dialogue?
Well, he says you got to challenge those negative thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
Ask yourself, are they really true?
Uh-huh.
Or are they just coming from fear and insecurity?
Right.
A lot of times when we really look at those thoughts, we realize they're not even accurate.
It's like putting those negative thoughts on trial.
Exactly.
Cross-examining them with evidence.
You got it. And he also talks about celebrating small victories.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Instead of focusing on what you haven't accomplished, why not make a list of all the things you have accomplished?
Yeah.
Big and small.
It's like a confidence piggy bank.
I love that.
Every time you achieve something, you drop a coin in.
Yeah.
And soon enough, you have this wealth of confidence.
Yeah, but what about those setbacks?
Yeah, those are tough.
We all face challenges and failures, and those can really hurt our confidence.
They can.
But Dr. Al-Hazimi says that, failures are just a part of life.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding them.
Right.
It's about learning from them.
Okay.
When we shift our focus from what went wrong to what can I learn from this,
right,
we build resilience.
Okay.
And resilience is key for confidence.
Bouncing back from challenges.
Exactly.
Not letting them define you.
And that's where he brings in the spiritual dimension again. He reminds us that our ultimate source of strength and resilience comes from our connection to God.
It's like remembering that you have a backup generator when your power goes out.
Exactly. And he also talks about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh, yeah. That's so important. It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right. So he emphasizes having a supportive network.
Okay.
Friends, family mentors, people who encourage you, believe in you, and challenge you to grow.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, he says, be careful about spending time with people who drain your energy and bring you down.
You got to set boundaries sometimes.
You do, even if it's hard.
Right.
You got to protect yourself.
And he says knowledge is power.
It is. Continuously learning and growing can be such a confidence booster.
Yeah.
The more we learn, the more competent we feel.
It's like that feeling you get when you finally understand something you've been struggling with.
Yeah.
Or you master a new skill.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that we're always growing.
Yeah. And he emphasizes the importance of taking action, even when you don't feel 100% confident. Sometimes you just got to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right.
Confidence often grows through experience.
Yeah.
Through taking risks and stepping outside your comfort zone.
The more you act, the more confident you become.
Exactly.
And then the more confident you become, the more you're willing to act.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is.
But it's important to balance action with self-care.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Dr. Al-Hazimi talks about taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Right.
That's essential for building lasting confidence.
It's like the oxygen mask on the airplane.
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself first
before
you can help anyone else.
If you're running on empty, you can't show up as your best self.
Right. So it's about finding things that nourish you.
Yes.
Spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Being creative.
Yeah.
Connecting with loved ones.
Right.
Even just taking some quiet time for yourself.
Those things are so important.
They are. And Dr. Al-Hazimi reminds us that building true confidence is a journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
It's about embracing the ups and downs, the moments of doubt and the moments of triumph.
Right.
And trusting that we're exactly where we need to be.
It's amazing how Dr. Al-Hazimi reminds us that building confidence is like this ongoing thing.
Yeah.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It really is. It's about embracing the whole experience, the ups, the downs, everything in between.
And he kind of weaves through all his advice. This beautiful idea that a strong faith in God is the ultimate foundation for real confidence.
That's like the bedrock.
It is. It's about trusting that even when things are tough, there's a higher purpose at play.
That's right.
And he uses this metaphor that I just love.
Okay.
He compares life to a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah. Right.
With all the twists and turns.
Yeah, full of unexpected drops that make your stomach lurch.
Right. But when you have faith in God's plan.
It's like having that safety harness that keeps you secure.
Exactly.
Throughout the whole ride.
I remember this time when I was facing a big career decision.
Yeah.
And I was just paralyzed by fear.
Oh, wow.
And then I realized this concept of high sound.
Having good expectations of God.
Yeah. And it was like this light bulb went off.
That's awesome.
It wasn't about denying the fear.
Right.
But like choosing to trust that things would work out.
Yeah.
Even if I couldn't see how.
It's like surrendering to the unknown.
Yeah.
Being like, okay, God, I trust you.
Yes.
Lead the way.
It's so liberating.
It really is. It takes away so much anxiety.
It does. And you can tap into a deeper sense of peace and confidence.
Exactly.
Just love how he brings all these ideas together.
Yeah.
It's not just about, positive self-talk.
Right.
Or learning new skills.
It's about the whole picture.
It's about aligning your actions with your values.
Yes.
Nurturing your connection with God and trusting in the bigger plan.
It's a beautiful tapestry.
It is.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into confidence, I think Dr. Al-Hazimi would probably want us to ask ourselves this question.
Yeah.
What experiences or beliefs have contributed the most to your own self-assurance?
That's a great question for everyone to think about.
Yeah, take a moment to reflect.
Yeah.
What moments were really important in shaping your confidence?
What beliefs or values do you rely on when you're feeling uncertain or challenged?
Right. Maybe it's a time when you overcame a huge obstacle.
Yeah.
And you realized you're stronger than you thought.
Or maybe it's a deep belief in your own abilities or a commitment to a cause that really drives you.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
Just take a moment to appreciate those sources of strength and acknowledge how they've made you who you are today.
And if you're really intrigued by this concept of and its connection to confidence, I really encourage you to explore it more. Maybe listen to some other talks by Dr. Al-Hazimi or read what Islamic scholars have written about it.
This has been an amazing journey exploring these ideas with you.
Thank you.
And remember, building true confidence is an ongoing process.
It is.
So be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Celebrate your wins. Learn from your setbacks.
Absolutely.
And keep nurturing that belief in yourself and in something greater than yourself.
That's the key.
Until next time, keep diving deep.